Hey everyone, welcome to 5 Minute Fridays, where we take 5 minutes at the end of our week to be in God's Word. So it's July and we celebrated our Independence Day on the 4th. And I'm guessing most of you did picnics or barbecues or got together with other people, saw fireworks or at least heard them. And it's a day in which we celebrate our nation's birth. We also celebrate the fact that we are able to live in this land where it is good overall, and that our freedoms are still intact for the most part. So here's a question. What does your freedom mean to you? Think about that as we go into reading of Psalm 27:13, which says, "I would have despaired unless I had believed that I would see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living." We live in a good land, and we're living. So we see the goodness of the Lord. But there are many people who do not know the freedoms that we have, and they live in oppression of some way. They may be persecuted. It can be very difficult. So I'm going to tell you the story of my friends that I met a few years ago. They moved from Afghanistan shortly after they got married and became pregnant because they wanted their child to be born here in the U.S. So they moved over here, and sure enough, their firstborn is a U.S. citizen, as well as their second and third. They are all under the age of 5, so they're young yet. And they took a trip to Afghanistan just before the Taliban took over, after the U.S. withdrew. They were there in July, and they were supposed to come back August 13th. Well, the Taliban took over, so they weren't able to come back on their arranged flight. And because Shadali was an interpreter with the U.S. forces, he was in danger. And if he was caught by the Taliban, it could have been very serious, not only for him, but for his family and Sumaya's family. So they ended up going from family member to family member, staying in different places for a week at a time or so, mostly staying inside, again, trying to avoid being in a place where they could be seen. And multiple times they tried to get to the airport to get out of the country. I was trying from our side to get them with connections. They were trying from Afghanistan to get connections to figure out how to get out of the country. And a number of times they were told, okay, you have an arranged, you can get on this flight, but you need to get to the airport by such and such time. And they went multiple times trying to get on, and there were a variety of reasons. Checkpoints that had too many Taliban at it, or the airport, when they would get there, there would be hundreds, maybe even thousands of people around the gates. And as soon as a gate was opened, everybody was just rushing in. And Sumaya and Shadali really cared for the safety of their children. So they just couldn't join the rush, because they knew that with 3 children under 5, a dangerous situation. And so they'd have to go back, find a way back to another home. And they kept doing that for 2 months. And then finally, they were able to get to the airport. They had to go to a refugee camp for another month, and then they finally made it back. And I asked Shadali last week what this country means to him. And both he and Sumaya were able to get their citizenship in these last 2 months. They became U.S. citizens. So I asked him, what does that mean to them? And one of the things he said was that being a U.S. citizen, besides the ability to travel, so now they can go back to Afghanistan and visit family and have U.S. passports, which is necessary. But he said one of the main things he recognized is that even though they as Afghanis are minorities here in the U.S., yet he said, I have a voice. I can vote. I can experience all the freedoms that everybody else does, regardless of what I believe, whatever color of skin, whatever nationality that I was born into. And so that freedom is very real for him and Sumaya, and now for their 3 kids as well. So what does your freedom mean to you? Think about that. We experience the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. And though things aren't terrifically falling under God's will, yet his goodness continues to be on this land, on this country. So let us rejoice in that and give thanks that we see the goodness of the Lord in this land of the living. Enjoy that, think about that, enjoy your freedom, and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.